Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome to the Coaching Show with your host, Master Certified Coach Christopher McCullough.
Now, Clarice, the workplace is not a place for practical jokes.
Says who?
I can't believe that you would just assault my area. This part of the work desk is my area. This is my private. This is my bubble. This is my personal bubble, and you've invaded it. That space invader is Clarice Connolly. She's our special in-studio guest co-host today. I don't know how long it'll last. You know, listen with me and we'll figure it out. Clarice, if people are somehow masochistic and want to work with you, what would be the best place to? How would they find you?
Unfortunately, the title doesn't match the website, but it's empoweringwomen.coach. That's where you can find me. And I'm also on Facebook.
Okay. Life
Coaching with Clarice Connolly.
Nice.
And I think those are really good places. I have an email address, Clarice. So in case you're wondering how to spell it, because it does often get confused and changed and things. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's just like Hannibal Lecter. So CLARICECO@gmail.com if you want to shoot me an email. Talk shop.
Great.
Not talk about masochism.
It was probably a little edgy there. Sorry. Okay. Today's a special day. It's March 14th. It's almost the Ides of March, which you should beware. What do we want to talk about? The big news today is we've lost an icon since I was a young boy anyway in science. We lost Stephen Hawking, who's just a brilliant, brilliant genius. Here's how I know he's brilliant. Have you read his books?
No.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I tried.
I know that.
Right?
Have you ever watched The Big Bang Theory?
Yes. Is this where you get your science?
That's where I get most about him, personally.
Yeah. No, he's a brilliant genius, and I had to read Neil deGrasse Tyson to understand Stephen Hawking's books, but we extend our condolences to his family, and we know the world has lost a great mind today. Anything else you want to talk about? I know St. Patrick's Day is coming up, celebrations all over the world, and certainly, in bars across our great city. I noticed that you're barely wearing green today. Mostly went with the pink.
St. Patrick's Day, yeah, I got a
little.
So I'm Irish, like all year round, and sometimes you just wear green all year round, and it's not about celebrating on a weekend.
You don't need no stinking holiday. I got it to do that. Okay. What else should we be talking about? What's coming up? Oh, the Conversation, singular, Among Masters, plural, conference is coming. I want to say it's in May in New Orleans. So I'm excited about that. You can find out more by going to Conversation, singular, Among Masters, plural, .com, Conversation Among Masters. It's always a great time. There's usually fewer than 200 people. That was my 8th grade English teacher kicking in. Fewer or less? Fewer, I'm sorry. Fewer than 200 people in one conference with one, headliner, speaker, question, provocateur at a time. And man, there's a lot of smart people in that room. It's a good time. The other thing that's coming up is the Association of Coach Training Organizations Conference, the ACTO Conference. That'll be in, I want to say, June in Virginia, which will be interesting. It's not that far from Charlottesville, so it's an interesting time to go to Virginia, that's for sure. Today, of course, being the day that there's a student walkout all across this nation to protest gun violence and to spur our lawmakers to do something about it. What else is happening in the world that we should tell people or remind people about? This year, we are not having the great ICF conference, a la Converge, not the international conference. This year, the regional conferences, and there's a great one. There are many great ones. The Midwest Conference is coming up. Check out ICF Midwest Conference. Google that. And we'll have more of those speakers as we get closer to it. I think I want to say it's in June, but I could be wrong. So that's all happening. Anything happening in your world? Hello?
Nothing nearly as exciting.
Is this interrupting something for you? Do you need to?
I was writing these down. I got them down. We're going to make sure that everybody knows that we're talking about it. We're getting guests on that are a part of it. I'm really excited.
Okay, good. We also want to let you know about something. Frequent listeners to this program know that accomplishment coaching has been our primary, our dominant, our main support, our main advertiser for these many years. And I want to say 15 years.
I know, I was trying
Accomplishment
to figure
coaching
that out
has
the other
been
day.
supporting us and doing this here podcast. Well, now Accomplishment Media has started. So if you are a coach, if you're in the coaching world, if you want to make the world a better place, if you have something to contribute, you should know about Accomplishment Media. And Accomplishment Media, we're bringing podcasts and publishing and all sorts of information from a variety of sources, vetted and curated for you to one main platform. So check out accomplishmentmedia.com. We'll be talking more about that. But the coaching show is a production of Accomplishment Media, and we're delighted to have the sponsorship of Accomplishment Coaching. Anything you want to say about Accomplishment Coaching?
No, I'm really excited for it. It's like that one-stop shop. It's that place to go if you want to listen to some highly trained and intelligent individuals not only talk about maybe, empowering women or talking about how to get educated on this, that, and the other topic. You could even have just some really great podcasts on less heavier topics. Maybe it's like up and coming movies or movies that you've always wanted to sit and chat about. And whether it's sitting around a couch and talking about things that you love, there's really a great variety of options and podcasts to listen to there. You can go on and you can listen to YouTube videos or clips. You can also have an opportunity to find blog posts and blogs that people in coaching communities are writing and that they're really passionate and excited to share with us. So it's really a one-stop shop for a place to have an educated source and medium.
Yep, it's great. Check it out, Accomplishment Media. You were talking about the lighter podcast and the lighter information. I love. There's a woman out of New York City, Laura Fink, who's a great coach and a leader, and she's also looks like a fashion model, always dressed, she just fell off a magazine page, and she is doing a podcast called "I Think I Love You."
I love it,
which is all about stuff that she loves. Right, it's kind of like Oprah's favorite things every week, and interviews with people and stuff. It's really great.
It is really phenomenal.
What else do we want to talk about? This here program, we're gonna, as we said, we're gonna bring people that are. Do we have any show notes? Do we have anything that we need to promote here? One of our delightful guests from today couldn't be with us because of the nor'easter. What did they get? 3 nor'easters in a month. So anyway, she'll be back with us another time. Her ebook, Do It Anyway, Tips for Courageous Communication, is hugely popular, and you can check her out. Her name, Elaine Bennett. And you can find her here in the future. We'll be delighted to welcome her back. Anyway, let's get to our next guest. I feel like we've done enough filler, enough promotion, enough whatever. Let's talk about our next guest, because here's the real truth before she gets here. I know she's listening, but before she gets here.
So she doesn't have a chance to respond. Here we go.
Well, I just want to put my cards on the table.
Uh-oh.
So Andrea Isaacs has created something that's sort of a hybrid approach, right? And so she's got EQ in there. Now, EQ, I got a great
emotional intelligence, in case
right.
anybody was wondering.
Thank you very much for explaining me again. EQ, I got a great esteem for EQ. I think emotional intelligence is one of those things that's kind of missing. It's something that we've now been able to name that people need, right? We've all worked for that, men or women who didn't have it and have suffered, living in a or working in an environment that doesn't have it. And I'm okay with that, so that is intriguing. And then there's this somatic approach, right? Very important to get the body and like that in there. But then she brings in the Enneagram. And for me, as a right thinking.
Righteous.
I mean, yeah. I mean, as a person with opinions, you almost lose me at Enneagram. So she's turned it into an emotional mastery program that is very popular, and we're excited to talk to her about it. But I just want you to know that I'm starting this off with a little skepticism. Okay?
I know. I have to bring these kind of things on just to make sure that there's a little.
Trying to challenge me to
exactly
expand my horizons?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
think there's other people that are like you. I'm just saying.
Oh, good. Okay.
Right.
Thank God. Andrea Isaacs has created this unique coaching system in. What are you doing over there? In 1994. So she's been around for a while. She's serious about this. Her emotional mastery program challenges the idea that change is difficult and slow. Her paradigm-shattering programs defy conventional logic and are urgently needed to adapt to the rapid change going on in our society. We're delighted to welcome to our microphones Andrea Isaacs. Hello.
I'm starting with laughter. Oh my goodness.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed your banter. and like Clarice, Christopher, I was also taking notes about all the wonderful events coming up. So that's
See?
fun. And I actually like talking to skeptics.
I figured you might. You're welcome.
Because you're going to have good questions. And like Clarice was saying to you, you're not alone. There are other skeptics, and I can't wait to transform you.
Oh,
good luck.
Right.
Well, how many minutes do we have? 45?
Let's see.
You know, Clarice, there was a tone when you said that. All right. Let's for me and for people who are just arriving to this notion, let's sort of block out what is the coaching modality that you have created and perfected over these years. Is this still a sitting down one-on-one with a human? Is there some other approach here?
Well, yes and no. We always do talk first. So yes, we sit down. But what I've learned, when I was younger, I spent some time in therapy, and there's the telling of your story. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I've discovered is as we tell the story, it keeps the story alive. It keeps the neural pathways alive. We have a neural pathway for every thought, feeling, or action we've ever done. And the ones that we engage most often get really, really strong. And that's why they become habits and patterns that are hard to change. And I know there are things about myself I was wanting to change for a long, long time without success. And I came across this modality through my own desire for change. I was a professional dancer for my first career.
Oh, nice.
And I really, one of my passions was to choreograph dances about people and emotions and relationships. Wow. Yeah. And so that was my background. And then when my dancers would perform, they were actually embodying and experiencing and feeling the emotions I wanted them to communicate. So it was authentic and it was powerful and all of that. So that was my background when I came across the Enneagram, this thing that makes you a little skeptical. And I remember sitting in a chair for 12 hours a day, getting information poured into my head. And it seemed really great and really interesting, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to experience these emotions of these different personality types. And it was so clear to me that you could because of my background, and it didn't exist. So I first created a way to explore the Enneagram through movement so that I could actually step in the shoes of these different personality styles and know what is it like to be them. And what I learned is that, I learned so many things in the doing of the exercises. I learned that we could actually embody the gifts of all of the types. So, a lot of people say, well, I don't like the Enneagram because it puts me in a box.
Right.
Well, what I like to say is we're not in a box. We can get out of the box and embody all of them. And in fact, that's one of the ways I like to define emotional intelligence, that I can have the flexibility to be the leader or to be the peacemaker or to be the nurturer or whatever it is that's needed in that moment. I have the range and the ability and the flexibility. So I'm kind of giving you a long answer, but this is how I came up with it. The modality came out of doing some of the exercises when I thought everybody would be in a good place and they just completed the last exercise and ready to move on.
Yeah.
And this woman was crying. And I felt responsible. I didn't know what happened. So I asked her. And we had been doing the exercise for those of you who know the Enneagram, it's the type 8, the leader. But for those of you who don't, what that means is it's the type that's just naturally confident and decisive, and they listen to and honor their gut knowing. And these are good qualities I think we all want and need. In fact, I'm looking at the emotional mastery blueprint for both of you. You've both taken my quiz now, and you both have this. So you're naturally confident, and you both have the ability to listen to and honor your gut knowing. And these are great strengths that we all need. And I think when I first came across the Enneagram, I didn't have any of this. I was afraid of it. And that's not emotional intelligence. But actually, I was afraid of the dark shadow, not the healthy stuff. We all want and need that. And I think that's an opinion a lot of people have about this particular type, because they are direct and they're clear about where they stand and where you stand with them. But their dark shadow is they get really quick to be angry. And so some people call them the anger types because they can do that easily. They say what they feel and they let it go, but sometimes it comes across in a harsh way. So what happened after this exercise is, when this woman was crying, she said the room exploded in people like her father. So her father had been actually an unhealthy version of 8, not a healthy one.
And I like that happens.
Yeah, I like to differentiate that. Some people cluster the healthy and the dark shadow together. So I thought, well, what were you doing when that happened? And she said, well, I was so scared, I hid under that chair. And I said, well, okay, let's go back to the chair. So we went back to the chair and she got underneath it. And in a short conversation with her, she said, she felt really safe there and she could stay there forever. In fact, that's how she was living her life, was hiding. And she had this huge fear of being seen, and it had been a lifelong pattern. And so in a short process, she got in touch with something she wanted out there in life. And I said, well, okay, let's go get it. So as she started to crawl out from under the chair, I had this impulse to put my hands on her shoulders and to not so much restrain her or stop her, but to make her work for it. And what happened then is it shifted something in her, and it increased her motivation, certainly. And suddenly she bolted away from me, which was so strong and powerful and beautiful. And there she was standing with her feet wide apart and her hands in front of her belly center, really, and she was solid as a rock. It was such a transformation from how she was a moment ago. And this is the first time I'd done it, and I didn't know what happened. So I said, this voice in my head said, well, ask her. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I asked her, and she said, I have a sturdy core, and I am here. And that was a turnaround for her. That became such a powerful tool for her. It's a mantra or a power phrase accompanied by a power pose, or you could say in Sanskrit, a mudra, often a prayer or meditation position, that she could use to train and strengthen a new neural pathway. So the next time she felt invisible or wanted to be seen or wanted to speak up for herself, she had something she could do. Just say those words quietly in her mind. And her brain would remember that neural pathway, and it would change the energy in her body, and it would change how she would think and feel and respond to life. And it did change her life. Just that one thing changed her life. Okay, and that's the modality.
Okay, so let's go back, because I'm trying to pick up all the pieces here. So
yeah,
the first is clients got to want to change, right? And they got to have some sense of I'm here and I want to be there, or I've got this and I want to have that, right?
Right.
And it helps to start with this EQ quiz. Is that the right word for it? What's the right word for it?
That is the right word. Yeah. Okay. Before I created the quiz about a year ago, so for all of my coaching those years before, I did not. But what I have found is this is a way to fast track.
It's a good place to start. Yeah. See the lay of the land.
Totally. Yeah, it's like an MRI of your personality. I could see where things are in balance and where things aren't in balance.
And what diseases we have, yeah. What's the
yeah, right.
And we should let people know the website there is eqquiz.com. That's where they should go immediately to take the quiz. And it took no time, right? We sat there,
5
we
to
had
10 minutes.
coffee or something, right? And then with that information, first of all, we shouldn't interpret that, right? Because I'll just cue off of the lowest or the least or something and make myself wrong. So we shouldn't do that. That's for you. And then you take this Enneagram sort of profile, if you will. It's I guess it's as useful as any personality sort of profile, right? But you recognize that there's a positive and a negative, or a shadow side, if I'm picking up what you're laying down, to each of the points,
attributes.
Each of the attributes, yeah. And then you've sort of got that awareness when you're doing work with people, but then your actual modality is you do coaching work. And I heard that there's also, as we talked about at the beginning, a fair amount of attention on the somatic, on the physical, right? She wanted to hide, and you could see that, and you could allow her to do that action, and then you sort of created a barrier for her to have to overcome physically, or some pressure to overcome, and then she was able to do this. Forgive me, I forget the the Sanskrit word, but this sort of power phrase and pose as a way to sort of come out of that. And that shifted her, from your perspective, it shifts her neural pathways now and for the future, correct?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of interesting pieces in here. And I'm starting to see how the Enneagram is more like, I don't know, a lot of the what do we call them, like testing or evaluations or assessment tools out there, right? You know, when we started with things like I don't know, Myers-Briggs or something that has all these, you know, nuances, and are you an RFPG and or an ENTI or whatever the things are, and you're and part of the downsides of those things is labels, right? Are you a D in the disc or whatever, or are you a blue in the color code or a green? I had a weird coaching session once where I, with a coach that I was considering hiring, where we had this argument about whether I was a green or a blue. And then when the argument, you know, I kept saying, no, I think I'm more, the way you're describing it, I feel like I'm more of a green. And she said, no, you're definitely a blue. And then at the end of the session, I said, well, I'm not going to work with you. And she said, you are a green.
I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
I really don't want to.
Right. So I've got some suspicion generally around assessment tools that you know serve to sort of categorize. But it sounds like you've heard that criticism or concern before, and that you're still a fan.
Well, you know, thank you for your recap. Great recap. Well, and you raised so many points. Can I go back to your recap and comment? So first of all, absolutely yes, the client has to want to change. And every now and then you run into one, I'm sure you have too, who they like their pattern. And, you know, those are my favorite clients to work with. So yes, that's a great starting point. And then you talked about interpreting the quiz. And, you know, a lot of my clients do know the Enneagram already, and many don't. And what's interesting, what I've loved actually, is those who do know the Enneagram, when I give them the assessment, they have so much more insight, because my test isn't just about what type you are. And I really appreciate your comment, Christopher, about are you green or are you blue? And you
label me.
I don't care what type you are. How's life? How is your life going? Do you like how you're thinking, feeling, and responding when you get challenged? And if you're loving it, great. You don't need me. And if there's some things that are going on that you don't really like, or you realize that you have patterns that aren't working for you, hey, let's change those patterns. And sometimes it's about your type, and oftentimes it's not, because I think the journey is about embodying all of it.
Absolutely.
And another comment about the Enneagram. Yeah, the quiz is based on the Enneagram, and the coaching I do is not really about the Enneagram. It sounds like a paradox, but I see the Enneagram as sort of the doorway into understanding yourself, and it's the doorway into starting the somatic work that I do. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I was just going to enthusiastically say, yeah, I can see how it's useful here, especially as an intro, right? Because as I said, you know, we did this EQ quiz at eqquiz.com very quickly, and then it was interesting to see the outcome, and all I wanted to do was, you know, having seen the data expressed in this graphic, was, okay, now we have to talk about what this means, right? So
yeah,
I mean, we have to, it's very clear that we have to figure out who's more emotionally intelligent out of the two of us.
I feel like maybe your takeaway was not the primary goal of Andrea's work. Okay.
Well, but Chris raises an interesting point. You know, some people tend to score just really high everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, everything's out to a 10.
Right.
And maybe all the greens are out to a 10. Green means go. Green is the gift.
Why you got to be green? I'm kidding.
St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Are you green? No, you're blue. You're green or you're red. The red, you know, stoplights, red means stop, or red reflects the challenges of each type. And so some people score the greens out to 10 and the reds are like hardly there. And other people give themselves a really different kind of rating. They say, oh, yeah, I got this challenge. Yeah, I got this challenge. We all assess ourselves differently. And I think it's one of the challenges of all assessments. That's the value of the in-person delivery of the assessment, because I can find out, are you one of those people that scores really high everywhere or really low? For instance, if you have 2 points higher somewhere, for one of you, it may mean nothing. It's like, oh, yeah, that's still a really good strength. For someone else who, say, has 10 everywhere, and then you have like 2 points lower, you have an 8, boy, there's room for growth. So that 1 or 2 points difference makes a huge difference for some and not so much of a difference for others. And that's the value of doing the assessment.
That makes sense. I guess for me, I'm curious, since you said there was a lot of like physical pieces to it, do you coach only in person? Do you meet some of your clients in person? How does your approach work, or how do you work with individuals?
Well, initially it was only in person. Of course, I started this a long time ago before we had Skype or Zoom. And now all my clients are on Zoom, really. Every now and then I see someone in person. Actually, I've seen, when I was in San Diego recently, I had some clients I met with in person. So if it's convenient, yes, but I have clients all over the world. And so it's just it's so much easier and so much more accessible to do something like Zoom. I love it.
And where are you located?
I live in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, just outside Boulder.
Oh, beautiful.
I know, I've been there. I really love it.
Oh, I do too.
So
all right.
Why do you say it's fast, life-changing, and long-lasting? I read that somewhere, and I just thought that would be really important to bring up and focus and talk about a little bit.
Yeah, well, a lot of therapy or coaching is story-based. It's talking about how did your mother treat you, how did your father treat you, and so on. And, it takes a long time to tell the whole story because we all have a story. And to get the full story, I got to go on and on and on and tell you more and more, And as I said earlier, it keeps those neural pathways alive. So that's part of it. Another part of it is a lot of coaching and therapy. People come to recognize what they want to change and why they want to change it, but they don't quite know the how. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the how, you're going to keep repeating the other patterns because they're so strong. I totally
set you up. I asked you right before the break, so I'm gonna pause you right there because I really do want to jump into the rest of this because this sounds extremely important and really exciting to talk about and dive into.
Meanwhile, if you want to know more information about Andrea and her work, please check out eqquiz.com as we suggested, and go ahead and put your information in there and take the quiz, or check out EnneaMotion. That's ENNEA motion.com. We'll be back with more with Andrea Isaacs on today's edition of The Coaching Show right here on WSRadio.com. Thanks for listening.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Are you seeking to change your career to something that is both fulfilling and challenging? Do you want to help people reach their full potential and strive to achieve their dreams? Would you like to inspire those around you and help create a better world? If you're serious about a career change or just want to explore the craft of personal coaching, contact Accomplishment Coaching. With locations across the country in Washington, D.C., Seattle, Chicago, New York City, and San Diego, Accomplishment Coaching is the leading institution in personal coaching. Our staff carefully monitors the entire program, live during the training process, and have met the strict standards of ICF International to achieve accreditation. Through a focus on quality instruction rather than endless modules of training, Accomplishment Coaching will guide you from your very first step all the way to becoming one of the finest coaches in the world. Visit AccomplishmentCoaching.com to learn more. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach.
Christopher McAuliffe is your source for the latest in the world of personal coaching. Whether it be speaking with such luminaries as Deepak Chopra or getting the newest techniques and innovation, the coaching show is always on the cutting edge of what's happening now.
Gotham Books presents Marriage Rules by Harriet Lerner. The book Martha Beck calls required reading for anyone hoping to interact successfully with any other human, not just for those in romantic relationships. Get your copy wherever books and ebooks are sold, and visit harrietlerner.com to learn how to change your marriage today.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the coaches training program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome back to the Coaching Show with your host, Master Certified Coach Christopher McAuliffe.
Thank you, Dick Warren. I'm here in studio with our guest co-host today, Clarice Connolly. Clarice, what do you want people to know about you?
You can find me on empoweringwomen.coach, and I'm a women's empowerment coach located in sunny San Diego, helping and supporting women throughout the entire world.
Nice. You say sunny San Diego, but it's raining outside.
I know it's raining. It's amazing. I'm getting a warm up for the move to Portland. What?
You're going to move to Portland?
Yeah, the end of the year.
This is a terrible time to tell me this.
Surprise.
When is it?
At the end of the year.
The end of the year. Okay, so I've got some time to adjust. Good. I'm so sorry that you had to hear that. That was an unexpected sound effect. My name, of course, Christopher McAuliffe. I'm a Master Certified Coach. Been coaching for like 6 years.
That's a lot.
That's a long time. And this here program / podcast is the coaching show where each and every week we bring you people out doing something extraordinary, interesting, or just plain wacky in the world of coaching. Today it's extraordinary. And I wanted to say a word about our longtime sponsor of this show before we get back to our guest. Accomplishment Coaching. Listen, if you are like me or Clarice, well, you know, you've got your own problems. But if you are, one of the things you're committed to is when it's time to go get trained as a coach, and you would get trained as a coach, you're looking not for the easiest, the cheapest, the most popular, the quickest, but the best coach training program in the world. If you're looking for the world's finest, if you're looking for the gold standard, if you're looking for the Oxford, the Harvard, the Stanford, the Yale, or whatever you think of as the finest training program in the world for coaching, check out Accomplishment Coaching. It's truly more, by any measure, the success of our graduates, the number of hours of training, the number of hours of being coached, the number of hours of coaching actual human beings that come in from the outside world, not just coach your neighbor, coach your fellow student, but actual humans. By any measure, the number of books you read, the different types of adult learning techniques, the number of distinctions, or just plain the number of hours, it's an extraordinary program. It's available throughout North America. Let's see if you can name the cities.
I love doing this. New York City, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Seattle, San Diego, and Victoria, British Columbia, Canada.
Correct. Beautiful. One of the things that I love, you can talk about what you love, but what I love about Accomplishment Coaching's work is that you can go and actually observe the coach training in process before you sign up for anything. You don't have to pay a dime. You can go and kind of look behind the curtain, look in the black box, and see what they're doing over there. Anything you want to say before we move on to our guest?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the observation. It's like 10 to 12 on a Saturday. It's nothing. Yeah. And then if you're really jazzed about it or you're just want a little taster, they have a workshop. The workshop, you can go in and actually experience one of their biggest tools. And I mean, for a little to nothing, you get 4 hours to just be poured into and walk away with a whole different perspective on what the next year looks like.
Exactly. And the program itself, if you know that you're up for the world's finest coach training program, the program is a year long. It includes a coach for the entire year, which I think it's the only program in the world that does that. It's a quality program by amazing people. Check it out, accomplishmentcoaching.com. Okay, so before the break, we're talking to Andrea Isaacs. Andrea is an extraordinary woman. She's been a coach for a long time. She created this system back in 1994, and the system includes such diverse elements as the Enneagram. She does an EQ quiz. You can find it online at eqquiz.com. But she also brings somatic focusing in. This system she calls, the Emotional Mastery Program is one of the programs that she she provides. And it challenges the idea that change is difficult or slow. And she can really move people forward rapidly, which is what we need in our society today. You can find out more, as I said, by going to eqquiz.com. That's what we found out in the first little section here. Or by going to Ennea, that's ENNEA, Motion, MOTION.com. We're delighted to welcome back to our microphone Andrea Isaacs. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Do you want to ask her that question again?
I did. I totally set you up because I didn't have my monitor on, so I had no idea how many minutes we had left. But what we were talking about was ultimately, is it possible to create long-lasting change in a short period of time?
Yes. And I feel like I'm on a mission to let people know that change can be easy. And, so many people, as you know, in your coaching, think that, that's just me. That's who I am. Just deal with it, right?
To their story. Like their story is their identity. Brilliant.
Yeah. And they think, and in their experience, understandably, they have found change to be difficult. Mm-hmm. And the reason they think that is because those neural pathways for the old way of being are so strong. Mm-hmm. So change can be easy if you create a new neural pathway for the way you'd rather be. As I was saying before the break, a lot of clients, they know the what and the why, but not the how. Mm-hmm. And also those old stories keep those old neural pathways alive. And then it's just impossible. It really is impossible to change. So if we can listen to the somatic language, soma means body. If we listen to the language of the body, and we can tap into that feeling I don't like, I hate when I get that way, and I'm about to do that. You can, in the example I was giving before the break about the very shy, withdrawn woman who had a very angry father, she was living her life trying to hide. And she was very much in touch with not liking that. And so she, in a very short time, the process took maybe 3 minutes. Oh, wow. She was able to shift that old pattern from wanting to hide into something that was so powerful and empowering. And so the mantra, the power phrase that she came up with, and it came from her. I didn't tell her, hey, say these words. Mm-hmm. Have I told her before the exercise, just say these words, it'll change everything. She would have said, like Christopher said, I don't want you as my coach. Forget it. That's ridiculous. That's not going to work. It's the skeptic in all of us. Of course not. But it came from her. Mm-hmm. And I want to say a little something about the power when it comes from that person and her experience of what she doesn't like. We're literally building an antidote. And to give a metaphor about that, if you've been bit by a poisonous snake, you could die. But there's an antidote that has some of that venom in it. Mm. And if you get the right antidote, it saves your life. So with that as a metaphor, you could say we all have our own version of what we could call our own emotional venom. And so the reason for going into that state that they don't like, and we just do it briefly, it lasts for maybe a minute at the most, is to get just a bit of that venom into the antidote. Because if you don't have it, it's not going to really shift. If I tell you, hey, just do this other thing, that's the what and the why, but I don't have the how. So anyway, we get the venom, and then it comes from her. I have her body find it, and then her body informs her mind. So we temporarily bypass the thinking mind. Her body found that power stance, the power pose, right? I didn't tell her to do that. She found it. That's what the soul craves. And then her body informed her mind, and then she said those words, I have a sturdy core, and I am here. And so the reason that is lasting change, there's a couple of things I want to put in here. One is we all have our comfort zone. The thoughts, feelings, and actions that we do most often are familiar, and the brain likes that. The brain thinks that's what we want. And so we do them again and again and again. Sometimes we don't like those patterns, like being shy or being angry or criticizing. We may not like it, but it's our pattern and it's familiar. And those neural pathways are strong. What happens when you have an alternative, you have this new power phrase and power pose, for instance, is the more you practice it, the more it becomes part of your comfort zone. In other words, you've increased your emotional range, your emotional capacity. That's part of increasing emotional intelligence. And so as we increase our comfort zone, that new phrase, that new pattern actually becomes a part of who you are. And that way, when you get triggered and you start, and the old reaction wants to arise, one of a few things could happen. Either you say, oh, this is a good time, I need my power phrase, and you say it quietly in your mind, and the brain releases that message to the neural pathways, and it changes the energy in your body, It changes how you respond when you're challenged. But the other thing, and this I didn't know at first until doing it for a while, but what happens, because it's part of your comfort zone, that new neural pathway is stronger and stronger, and then it just happens on its own. You don't even have to call it forth. It's just there for you. And that's why it's lasting change. It literally becomes a part of you.
I'm listening to this as a coach, and as I think many people that are listening are. It sounds like you've got an amazing system. How can we use some of this in our daily practice? Is there something that you recommend as a starting place for an existing coach or a coach who is interested in doing more of this work? Or is there an entire course or program we can take so we can learn your system? Or do we just have to get the level of expertise and brilliance you have?
Well, I've asked myself that same question. And this is the answer I've come up with, and I think this is what works. So I do have a training program, and it teaches a combination of how to teach EnneaMotion, which triggers people oftentimes, and then we actually need to do my coaching modality, which I call somatic focusing. So I train that modality too. However, now that I have the EQ quiz, it's really the starting point for everything. Whether you're a client, whether you're a coach who wants to use this with your clients, whether you just want to be happier yourself, it's the starting point. And so from there, there's a series of steps. One is to have your assessment. I also recently had a webinar called Just the Whammies. Now, what's a whammy, you might ask?
I might.
I was going there.
Yeah. So if you look at your charts, there's a lot of green and red. And as I mentioned earlier, the high green means you have a lot of gift in that area.
I'm gifted.
Well, what if you're gifted everywhere? But look at where your green is a little lower, right? It means if it's really low, that could be a whammy, because we need the gifts of all of the types. We all need to be the boss or the leader sometimes. We all need to be the peacemaker sometimes, and around the circle. We need it all. And then if you look at the red scores, a low red is great. If you have a higher red, it could be a whammy. A whammy is like a knockout punch, and it's really hard to function or to get up after a knockout punch. Oh, fortunately, I've never had one, but I can imagine.
Oh, my perfectionist does that to me at least 3 times daily.
Right. Well, look at your thing. Whoops. Get it back. So we're looking at our things now, and it's hilarious because one of the things that Clarice struggles with is achievement, right? Like actually, making them money and getting the big fame and stuff like that, right? So her green in that area is very small. Now her red is even tinier, but it's exactly as you suggest, right? Like that totally resonates. And yet her green is the highest in things like enthusiasm and peacemaker. And what's this one over here?
The nurturer.
Yeah. Which, I think we all get even through the sound of your voice, right? Like, you're fun, you're going to make stuff happen, and we're going to have a good time, and nobody's going to get upset. Me, on the other hand, very low in the peacemaker. I'm going to cause trouble.
He's
right?
an antagonist through and through.
I'm high. Nobody would be surprised to know that I'm high in perfectionism and high in enthusiasm, which also is the red the shadow side? Yeah. So the shadow side of enthusiasm, like I will come to your house and knock it down, is also very high for me. Anything else that you would point to us? For example,
sure. So first of all, this is looking at the blueprints for both of you. The high score for Type 7, the enthusiast, is part of why you two have so much fun on this show.
Nice.
That makes so much sense.
And you know what I want to suggest is, Clarice, after you move to Portland, you can still do this on Skype or something. You can still call in and be.
I know. I'm going to torture him whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, you guys have to talk about that, because there's some good chemistry here. Don't lose that. But can I talk more specifically about your charts?
Please.
Okay, so let's look at Clarice first. So, Christopher, you're pointing out that she had a low score for the achiever. It's not that you don't achieve, Clarice. You have some, quote,
Thanks
whammy.
for the clarification.
Yeah, right. You just have some what I call whammies in the way.
Yeah.
So part of that is your inner critic, the red score for Type 1. Your inner critic is so harsh.
Oh, you wouldn't even know.
I know. Well, it might just give the listeners a feeling for what the voice in your head says. It's something like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's something like, oh, you stupid idiot. You made a mistake. I can't believe you did that. Oh, there's no way you can do that. Something like that, right? So why should you even bother if this voice is continually telling you what a failure you are, right?
Yep, failure's pretty large. That's a good word.
Yeah. And then the double whammy is the red score for type 4, the individualist. It's not that high, but this is a red score for, it's the emotional, you have such a huge emotional range, Clarice. It's, you've experienced emotional highs and you've gone into the dark shadow. It's the whole range is familiar. And that's part of why you're a really good coach, because you have a lot of empathy and understanding. The shadow side here for type 4, though, says to me that when the darker emotions come up, you start to feel like you're just not worth it. You don't deserve that dream anyway. And so the double whammy is, I don't deserve it, and then the voice in your head is criticizing you so harshly. That's part of what's holding you back.
Very true. Look at that. All through a little quiz and 30 minutes on air.
Amazing. So what? So now, what do we do here, Coach? What do we do? About this?
So
young lady?
Fix me. There's something wrong with me.
No, you're perfect as you are, but you could be happier. And you can have the dream, that you want. So in giving the assessments to people, and I started to feel their pain, like, oh, I got to change this. Oh man, that's going to be so hard. And I started to feel their struggle, and I had this vision of a bunch of dominoes standing up. I mean, not think this is related, but it is. So picture a bunch of dominoes standing up, and if I were to go flick on the first domino, they would all fall down, right? So I'm looking at the chart, and I thought, well, what if there's a first domino for you? What's that one thing, which if you could change one thing, everything else, all your dominoes would remain standing, and you would remain strong and empowered, and the red scores would go down and the green scores would go up. So there is a first domino, I believe, for everybody. So having said that, I'm looking at your chart and to see what your first domino might be. And it could be that voice in your head. Now, this, again, going back to Christopher's point in the beginning about, am I a green or am I a blue? And, the answer to this question is not what type you are. The answer to the first domino is what could change everything. And I'm thinking that if you could shift that voice in your head to an empowering voice, it will relax the anxiety you feel. The type 6, the loyalist, the red score you have there, Clarice, tells me you have a lot of anxiety. And so that's holding you back too. But if you could shift that voice in your head to something like, I talk about custom designing or personalizing these power phrases. So just generically speaking, since we're not actually in a coaching session, generically speaking, it's something like this. I'm perfect enough. I'm perfect just the way I am. I'm perfect enough. And to feel it in your body. And the reason it's important to have an empowering phrase, and you may not believe I am perfect. There's a part of you that will not, the skeptic in you will never believe that. But it might be willing to accept I'm perfect enough. And the reason for that is it's really hard just to stop that voice. Because, I'm sure that we've all heard things like, well, just stop criticizing yourself. Just get over it.
Oh, my God. People say that to me, and I want to jump out of my skin.
Time,
yeah,
right?
thanks.
Well,
I got
you know what? We can't stop that voice. It's impossible. However, we can replace it. And so what that means is the next time you hear it in your voice or you anticipate it, just say the words and your brain will go, oh, okay, I'll tell her that one. And it's going to change how you think and how you feel and how you respond to life, especially when you're challenged.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, so try that. Try it when you practice it when you don't need it, because that's what strengthens the neural pathway. And then, of course, use it when you do need it, as soon as you hear it. And sometimes when we're really harsh with ourselves, we start criticizing other people. And so you could change the mantra, the power phrase to, oh, he's perfect enough. She's perfect enough. And you know what? Life is perfect enough. And I'm sure there's a part of you, the skeptic in you, is going, yeah, right. But you know what? This is what it is, and we have to accept it, so we might as well accept it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to believe it. I want to. Take it on.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So we got.
Oh, do me.
Yeah, no. What's Christopher's whammy?
Okay, so this is a really great. For me, this is great because it's better than talking about it because we actually get the flavor of it. Right now, you've got a path going forward. Do you feel like you got what you?
I do. I'm excited to try this on.
Okay,
I'm stoked.
Thanks.
Yeah, before we shift to Christopher, do you have any questions or comments about that, Clarice?
No, I mean, I just think that it's the power of what you do. I mean, it's very spot on. I mean, the words of the story might be slightly different, but yeah, it's absolutely spot on. And I just think, like, for me, what really stands out is that, like, there's everybody's using some kind of quiz and some kind of tool, you know, whether it's the colors, whether it's the disc, whether it's, you know, whatever. I mean, as a coach, should we all start using a test? Because I know that, you know, you scroll through Facebook and you tell me, take this test and find out what house you belong in Harry Potter. I mean, I might just take it. Everybody loves taking tests. So would you recommend that coaches start using tests?
You know, they're all a little different. Use one that resonates with you, that gives you the most insight. Oh, I started to, I didn't finish my answer to an early question. So about taking the quiz and for coaches who want to be trained in this modality.
Yes.
There's a webinar I recently offered that goes through what I call the whammies. That was the sidetrack we had. It goes through, it's called Just the Whammies. It talks about the low greens and the high reds. In other words, low gifts and high challenges for each type. And then I have a course coming up. Actually, it starts a week from, it starts this coming Tuesday, the 20th, which is called A Taste of Type, where you learn how to embody the gifts of each of the types. Now, it's not deeply personalized or custom designed yet, but you get that taste.
Right. And how do we register for that, or where do we find out more?
Well, if you go to eqquiz.com and take the quiz, you'll get into the automated email string that will invite you.
Okay,
That's
great.
awesome.
Alternatively, if you don't want to do that, you can go to Andrea-Isaacs, that's ISAACS.com/IgniteEQ. And then you get the information about that program.
Great.
And in that program, you also get your in-person assessment, which is a 90-minute conversation.
Oh,
which,
all right.
yeah, there's a ton of insight there. So anyway, and then after that, you have to experience my embodiment work and to do the training. And I have a training then for either coaches who want to deliver the assessment, and also a training for my coaching modality.
Awesome. Now we left you 3 minutes to jam in probably 90 seconds or 90 minutes of work into telling me what's going on with Christopher and his little pie chart here.
Okay, so Christopher, so chances are you're what we would call a type 7 enthusiast. So yes, you have an abundance of joy and enthusiasm for ideas and for having a good life.
Oh yeah.
And it's great to brainstorm with you. And you're a positive reframer. If there's a challenge, you can easily and quickly reframe it and say, well, okay, I'll do this now, and that'll be just as good, if not better.
You don't know me. I'm kidding. Keep going.
About accurate.
Hey, fine.
As you noted earlier, your red score is equally high, which tells me that you have so many ideas that sometimes you get scattered. And so and then you can lose your focus. So,
she's laughing because I've got the phone, the iPad,
God,
and
so
the
much technology
laptop
in
up in addition to the monitor and watching ourselves on video. So yeah, I might have
So
that.
you like to multitask, but you know what? The truth is you can really only do one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I see on your chart was something I was talking about earlier, how everything is relative. So relative to you, Christopher, your green score for type 5, the observer, if it were stronger, you would focus more. And then your green score for type 3, the achiever, would go up. Now, the first whammy I was thinking of was your type 8, except it's so strong. The reason I say that is the gut knowing that type 8s are known for is such a good decider. It's kind of like, this is how you make those gut decisions that really cut through all the options, say, this is the one thing I need to do next. Now, your green score is pretty strong there. It's an 8. But I'm thinking that, there's room for that to go higher. And I think when you feel like you're scattered, or when you notice that you're scattered, if you just listen to your gut and say, okay, just this, just do that.
One thing, right.
Yeah, just exactly. Then your observer, your green score for 5 will go up, and the achiever score will go up, and you'll get more done too.
That's awesome. That is absolutely something that I struggle with, and I have like all these systems and workarounds and assistants. I got 2 assistants. Who needs 2 assistants? I do.
If someone's good, more is better, right?
Right, exactly. Because I'm trying to fulfill on everything, and then of course in the middle of trying to do one thing, I got 6 more ideas, so I have to call Clarice. This is a beautiful, beautiful demonstration. Thanks so much for taking us on this journey. The websites, of course, EQ Quiz gets you started. EQQuiz.com, or go check out Andrea, Andrea, Isaacs, ISAACS.com, or check out EnneaMotion, EnneaMotion.com. Andrea, we loved having you here. We got about 20 seconds. Do you want to leave us with a parting shot today or a parting thought?
Sure. I want everyone to know that change can be easy. You just need to create that new neural pathway. And one more thing, the Andrea-Isaacs.com by itself doesn't work. You need the Ignite EQ.
Very
oh, my
important.
goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But EQquiz.com is super easy, and that's where we started,
It is.
and you can too.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much for the great work you're doing in the world. Thanks for being with us today on the Coaching Show. And everybody go immediately to EQquiz.com and get followed up with and take advantage of the upcoming Taste of Type workshop, or webinar, I should say. Hey, Ms. Clarice, thanks very much for being with us today. Where can people find out more about you?
EmpoweringWomen.coach.
Great. And me, of course, Christopher McCullough. You're here on the Coaching Show. I thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released, and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.
Do you love wine, but it doesn't love you back in the morning? Then it's time to try Alcotox, the ultimate hangover cure. Alcotox is a dietary supplement that reduces the harmful side effects of alcohol, and it benefits all alcohol consumers, not just those who occasionally overindulge. So now, for less than the cost of a drink, you can wake up hangover-free. To learn more, go to vinvillage.com and let Alcotox make hangovers a thing of the past.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goli, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple, and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com, on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI. information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WS Radio.